An article from the New York Times warns that ahead of the November midterms, conservative social media sites that bill themselves as being free of censorship are actually just echo chambers of misinformation. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and there's always been a certain intractable virality when it comes to misinformation or scandal or salaciousness. Something doesn't need to be true before it's repeated over and over again, and in these social media-driven times when information travels further and faster than ever before, that's proven to be pretty dangerous and pretty damaging to individuals, to organizations, and to nations. But for as much as we seem to be aware that misinformation is a problem, and for as many times as we've heard tales of politicians and publicists planting stories in the media in an effort to serve a greater agenda, we still fail to scrutinize the things we hear and read about. We still fall for the grift even after we know we're being grifted. Mark Twain said it over a century ago, before the internet was even a thing. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. More recently, the Washington Post, NBC, and some other outlets reported that during the 2020 presidential election, Facebook posts featuring misinformation garnered 6 times as many clicks as factual posts. Researchers from MIT stated, quote, "Falsehood diffused significantly further, faster, deeper, and more broadly than the truth in all categories of information, and the effects were more pronounced for false political news than for false news about terrorism, natural disasters, science, urban legends, or financial information." Now, we can speculate a few different reasons for this, but the simplest explanation could be that lies are often more interesting than the truth. Lies can be crafted to serve a particular narrative or to confirm an existing bias or belief in ways that the truth just can't by nature of being the truth. The truth just is, and while you can apply it to different cases and you can analyze it in various different ways, it still just is. On top of that, the truth is often uncomfortable, whereas lies can be much kinder and even more flattering. If a lie confirms what you already want to believe, it gives you a bit of an "I told you so" ego boost. Everyone wants to believe that they are more insightful or less easily fooled than the next guy, so anything supporting that type of belief can become addictive. When conservatives complain of censorship on public social platforms like Meta and Twitter, they always want to cite the First Amendment, their right to free speech. The part they're missing is that the government isn't going to strip them of their rights to express themselves freely, but that doesn't mean that people should be allowed to spread lies on non-governmental platforms without facing some sort of consequence, even if that consequence is at a bare minimum that they're called out for their lies. And this isn't a unique problem that we're facing, but the scale of it in terms of how quickly and how far misinformation can spread with modern technology is unlike anything the history of man has ever seen. It's a problem that needs to be addressed, and we're already seeing that play out in the lawsuit between Dominion Voting Systems and Fox News. Dominion is claiming defamation, and Fox is claiming the newsworthiness of lies. Newsworthiness doesn't excuse a lack of journalistic integrity, though. When conservatives swear off the popular social platforms and form their own, like Truth Social or Parler or Rumble, the problem of misinformation becomes much more difficult to manage, and it becomes more concentrated within certain communities of people who are already prone to accepting and believing mistruths. There are less dissenting voices to break through and disrupt the narrative, although if I'm being honest, we've already gotten to the point where presenting factual evidence that disproves a conspiracy theory is practically ineffectual. People will believe what they want to believe, and they'll entrench themselves in communities that will allow them to do exactly that. It takes a lot of work to have your beliefs challenged, and that's work that most people are just not interested in putting in. To that end, over 69 million people have already joined these alternate social media platforms. Now, I remember back when Facebook first started to gain traction, we saw how easily lies could spread across large geographic areas, taking root within various communities and proliferating within each of them. Perhaps at the time, we were too trusting and too naive to think that social posts like memes, which are usually created by unknown, disreputable, or questionable authors, would be intentionally misleading. And to be fair, not all memes are intentionally misleading, but even memes created with the best of intentions, backed by all the data and all the research in the world, can be misleading simply in their brevity. They attempt to condense incredibly complex topics and ideas into something publicly tangible. And the fact of the matter is that a meme can never tell a whole story, and a meme can never paint a full picture. What it can do is deceive someone into thinking they understand something implicitly when they do not. That said, we haven't necessarily become any more savvy than we were back then. We're still quick to share inflammatory Instagram posts on our own stories with our own bevy of followers. It still doesn't always occur to us that we should fact check stories before we repeat them to our friends in casual conversation. We still can't distinguish between something that could be true and something that actually is true. Our opinions are easily swayed by the last thing we read or the last commentator we listened to on YouTube. And we've lost the ability to think critically as a collective. And I don't know, maybe this goes back to our education system, a system that now focuses more on teaching students the things they need to know to pass a standardized test, rather than teaching them how to learn, how to research, how to discern, and how to analyze. In a day and age where the phrase, "do your own research," has become a signifier not for an enlightened or educated individual, but for someone hawking conspiracy theories, we really have a long way to go as far as relearning the difference between fact and fiction, and fact and opinion, and truth and lies. All right, that's it for me. If you got something out of this content, please like and subscribe, and be sure to follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you.